Okay, hello. This is Addison from the A.N.I.M team, the Agency of Narrative, Intrigue, and Mystery, and I am here recording this to walk you through the character creation for Eureka Investigative Urban Fantasy. This is going to be part of a series of videos that we are going to do that are sort of going to be part tutorial, part like gameplay showcase, kinda. And I don't know for sure that this is going to be the first one that's uploaded. This is partially a test, a proof of concept. I'm going to go through the character creation. We're planning to do several character creation videos, and partially like just to show like what a wide range of characters you can make in this game. That was one of the core design ideas. And so this is going to be me running through character creation to create a character, and it's acting as kind of a proof of concept for others to follow and probably do it better than this. The first thing is I'm going to go to the itch.io store page for Eureka, which has this awesome graphic design by Chills and Blue, and download a character sheet. Suggested price is $25, but it's optional. Download the October editable character sheet. This is the most updated character sheet. I'm not downloading this because this is not the most updated version of Eureka. I'm going to be using a version of Eureka that I downloaded straight off of the Google Doc that we use to make the rulebook instead, so it'll be like the most up-to-date version of Eureka up to July 1st. We're going to try and keep these video series as up-to-date as possible for as long as possible. The most polished version of the rulebook that we can have for these videos that may be up there for years and years and years. Even though, as anyone watching this probably knows, Eureka is still in its beta stage. I mean, it says so right here. So I'm downloading this. It is open in my browser, but I'm going to open it in... You know what? I will keep it in a browser so that I can have it in a separate window. So I've also got the Eureka rulebook already pulled up. I downloaded this and didn't rename it to the name that we always rename it. So it's just going to say handbook, but it's the rulebook. This is the most up-to-date version up to July 1st. And it's a little messy because we always clean it up before we do any kind of public release, whether that be on Patreon or like on itch.io to the public. What you're going to do is you got to go to Chapter 2. I'm assuming that I'm not going to do a whole rules rundown. I'll probably talk about some rules as they come up or if they matter, but this is not a teach you the whole rules. This is walk through character creation. So chapter 2, making characters, and we're going to go through this. Do not share character sheets. I guess I'm sharing a character sheet. Darn. But yeah, that means from the players around you at the table. Come up with a concept. I already have a concept. I'm going to be remaking the character sheet for Nick Morgan, Detective Nick Morgan. He is featured as a example investigator in the rulebook already. I can actually pull him up and show him in the back of this chapter. Example investigators. There we go, Nick Morgan. And I have played him before. He is one of my investigators. I use him for any adventure module that takes place in like the 20s or 30s or 40s, first like half of the 20th century, where a lot of Lovecraftian stuff tends to take place. We've used a lot of Call of Cthulhu modules, both for playtesting of Eureka before we had our own modules, just playing Call of Cthulhu modules with Eureka. And So yeah, this guy. He's a detective. I do not have a strong backstory for him, strong, super written out backstory for him. You don't need that for a character. I definitely have some pretty written out backstories for other characters, but as long as his backstory is something that might get him involved in the investigation, that's what you need. So I use him for anything set in like the 20s, 30s, or 40s, regardless of the actual decade. He doesn't have a set age or birth date. It's just he's an adult when this is going on. And so, he's worked for the FBI, he's worked as a private detective. It's sort of whatever the module needs him to be. He's this guy. So, I've got to come up with a concept. And, and when you're doing Eureka, you do remake the character sheet to some degree each separate adventure you play. There are certain elements of the character sheet that have to be redone every single time. Other elements you can just copy paste over, / just keep exactly the same and use the same exact file. Make a person not an archetype. He's a bit nuanced. I haven't gotten to play him quite enough to have a full freaking profile of him yet, but you don't need that necessarily. Investigators are not cops. He has worked for the FBI, but there's special considerations for that, and it's not going to be relevant for this character creation video. Alright, so step 2 is just choose skills. You may want to start with traits, but I'm going to start with skills. For skills, the skill rating, it goes between -3 and +3, with -3 being the worst and +3 being the best, at least the best that you can make it for your character. Down here, as you can see, it goes into that. -3 is complete incompetence. A +3 is a very high level of skill. A +4 would be absolute mastery, like the best in the world. But you can't set your character's rating to that in this step of character creation. It can only go up to +3 in this current step of character creation. That will be the skill rating. A character can get a +4 or even a +5, or beyond that even, but that is going to be through the bonuses that come from traits, which we will get to in the next step. And a +5 is that's superhuman. And mundane characters, which is what Nick Morgan is, he will not have any skills that go into the +5. Next, another rule of skill allocation is that the total must add up to 0. So I can set his skill ratings to whatever I want between -3 and +3, but at the end, all of them have to add up to 0. And just to be clear, that doesn't mean that each row has to add up to 0. That means the whole thing adds up to 0. So you can have all negatives in this and all positives in this, but combined they have to add up to 0 in the ratings. Not in the trait bonus, not in the trait context, and not in the trait penalty. So the skill rating, that's what I'm going to be working with here. That is just their knowledge and talent in this. The rest of these columns are from traits. So trait penalty, you put, if he has a trait, you give him -1 there, and that helps you remember trait base and trait context. There are different types of bonuses in Eureka: base skill bonuses and contextual skill bonuses. There's a feature in Eureka called composure. The combination of these 3 columns, trait penalty, skill rating, and trait base, cannot be higher than the composure level. So as Nick Morgan starts getting hurt, getting scared, getting stressed, getting fatigued and tired, he's going to lose this composure. It's going to go down. If he loses 4 composure, he's only got 3 left. That means that the combination of these 2 cannot count for higher than a +3 to the dice roll. It could be +10 and +10 for a +20 modifier, but I could only add to the roll a +3. And so a base bonus is going to be something that is going to be, dependent on their composure, whereas a contextual bonus is going to be something that they would always be better at, even if they're stressed the frick out. there's not separate columns for the penalty because it doesn't matter. It's always a penalty. Penalties are not affected by composure. Interpersonal skills. So there are 3 types of skills. They're kind of self-explanatory. Interpersonal, knowledge, and physical. Interpersonal are like social skills. Knowledge skills are knowledge of pretty technical stuff. And physical skills are like their physical talents, like, how athletic are they? How good are their reflexes? How good are their senses? Stuff like that. There's also the wealth skill, which works like a skill, but it's, kind of their social class. Interpersonal skills. These are his social skills. There are 6 of them. And the first one, charm. This is, how charismatic he is. We have little helpful ratings that sort of give some examples, some ideas of like the type of person who might have this rating in that skill. He's not especially charismatic, but he's probably not like just awful to be around and like tactless, completely annoying. I'd say he's very average in that situation, wherein like, he has plenty of friends probably, but he's not gonna be a public speaker, or he's not gonna be able to probably swab his way past a guard or something. So I'm gonna give him a +0, which, alright, here's the thing about +0s. A lot of people come to Eureka with the impression that a +0 is a quote-unquote average skill rating that like the average guy has. Like if you just pulled some random guy off the street, he'd probably have all +0s in his skills. That is not necessarily the case. Different skills have different averages, and you're going to see that later. Like for example, medicine. Most people don't know a lot about first aid, so the average is in the negatives. Most people don't know a lot about using guns, so the average for guns is also in the negatives. Alright, so next is going to be his comfort skill. Comfort skill is similar to charm, but instead of... charm is used to earn people's trust in a more relaxed environment. Comfort is used when attempting to earn people's trust in a more intense and like dangerous situation, like, talk down a crazed gunman. And it also is used to just literally comfort people. A comfort roll on another investigator can restore that investigator's composure. I'm going to go with a -1. Manipulate. This is for lying. This is for, it's also, of course, similar to charm, but more along the lines of manipulating people into going directly opposed to their best interests instead of just getting them like to trust, instead of like characters getting them to like trust them. I would play, he could probably pull off a lie, but he's not like good at it, so I'll give him another +0 there. Seduce. This is for seduction. It doesn't work from all characters on all characters. They have to, play for the right team, as I think it says here. But when it does work, it can be sort of a more powerful charm. I'd say he seems not unattractive. As for his actual game, probably also pretty average. I'm going to go with another +0. Alright, now we get to social cues. Social cues is about reading the room. How well can this character read the room? Can they tell from body language what someone is, how someone's reacting to something? Can they read faces well? Can they identify a tone of voice, emotions in a tone of voice? I'd say he's probably pretty decent at that. I'm going to give him a +1. He's not on the level of like professional psychic or Columbo, probably, but he can read a voice. He can read the room. So socially aware, +1. Next is threaten. Threaten is an interesting skill, especially because it can be probably pretty pretty well bypassed just by taking action, but taking action comes with plenty of its own potential consequences. Violence in Eureka is very dangerous, even for the PCs. Like Seduce, threaten does not necessarily mean that he's specifically super big if he has a big threaten. Like, a small character can be threatening. Threaten rolls can sometimes just be bypassed by taking action, pointing a gun in someone's face. There's no need to roll threaten for that. That is threatening always. Threaten is more along the lines of the character going to make someone scared without putting their hands on them or causing violence or pointing a gun in their face. I would say that Nick Morgan can probably be threatening if he means to be. I'm going to give him a +2 in threaten, actually. So that's it for his interpersonal skills already. Alright, knowledge skills. The first one is chemistry. How well does he know chemistry? I would probably give myself a -1 or -2 in chemistry. So I'm giving him... We're going with a -3 for now. He probably knows next to nothing about chemistry. Medicine. So this is not just knowledge of medicine, but, applied knowledge of medicine. Can they perform first aid? That's pretty important. So part of his backstory is that he was in the Army. He may have been in World War I or World War II, depending on when I'm playing him. But he was in the Army. And he's also, as a man growing up in the first half of the 20th century, probably almost certainly was in Boy Scouts. And they've always taught you some first aid stuff. This is probably either a -1 or to a +1, and since I just said that, I'll go with the middle between them and give him a +0 in medicine. Nature. This is knowledge of nature, survival skills, stuff you learn in Boy Scouts. And you know what? I'll go with +1 because he knows some survival skills. He's been in the Army and he's been in Boy Scouts. Okay, paperwork. This is kind of their literacy. Can the character, quickly read? Can they identify important piece of information, memorize it, understand it from, written text? Again, I would say that he is not especially good or especially bad at it. He probably does do a decent amount of reading, in his job as a detective. So maybe a +1. I'll give him a +1. Next is... Actually, oh yeah, so I forgot. We haven't updated the character sheet yet. The character sheet fully works, but the blacked out skill or redacted skill, it's in a different order in the rulebook than it is on the character sheet. So we'll do that now. So this skill is unknown to a new player. I know what it does, but you're not supposed to know what it does immediately. But you can give your character points in it or take points out of it. The type of person who would invest into an unknown mysterious skill is probably the type of person who would have high marks in this skill. And I think that's not him. So I'm going to say a -3, honestly. Next skill is technology. Technology is their knowledge of a lot of technology. We had to wrap this up into being both mechanical / analog technology as well as digital technology for various gameplay reasons, but it works out. I would say he's kind of a +1. Man growing up in the first half of the 20th century, probably knows how to fix things decently well, and probably does so more often than I do today. I can maybe justify +2 if it turns out after I've done all these skills and added them up and he's in the negatives, maybe I'll come back and give him a +2. But visual calculus. This is kind of the character's ability to notice small details and kind of extrapolate from those small details. See, we have Sherlock Holmes as a +4 here, and a +3 is professional pool player. Someone who can see where something getting hit might push that thing. He works as a detective, so I'm going to say he has at least a professional level of understanding of this sort of thing and an eye for those kind of details. Might even give him a +3. I'll give him a +2. This is another one where if he's in the negatives at the end, I'll give him a boost up to +3. Physical skills. These are physical skills. Physical abilities with the physical body. Athletics. Athletics, physical fitness, athleticism. Solid +2. He's fit. He's athletic. He can run. He can lift things. And probably does a lot of walking. Probably even works out a little bit. Does not lead a super sedentary lifestyle. Close combat. This is sort of the martial arts skill. And this is used for a lot of the more advanced melee combat techniques, as well as using melee weapons. He was in the army. He knows how to use a bayonet. He would have learned some basic grappling in the army, and he's probably even in his career as a hard-boiled 1920s, 30s, and/or 40s detective, been in some fights where that grappling has been helpful. So I think I'm going to give him a +1 or +2, maybe +2. If it turns out I need to take some points out, I'll probably go back to that. Driving, skill for pulling off more advanced maneuvers in the car. The character does not necessarily need a high driving skill just to drive from point A to point B, but if they are in a situation where they have to make a super dangerous sharp turn or like drive really fast or something, that's when this skill will come in. And I'm not even fully confident that he owns a car, because it was the 20s, 30s, and or 40s, and they still had public transportation in America. He's probably lives in a city as a private, hard-boiled, noir-esque detective. He could probably just take the trolley car or something. I'll give him a -1, and if I need to, that can go down to a -2. Firearms. Skill and knowledge of firearms. This is kind of like a knowledge skill, but we put it in physical skills because it's used in combat. It also has a lot to do with, their ability to use their hands to manipulate firearms well and aim and stuff. Of course, you can also use it when they are doing a knowledge type investigation roll on anything firearm related. He has been in the army. Solid +2. He knows how to use a firearm and has used one for real. Reflexes. Ability to react quickly and, importantly, react appropriately. I'd say he's pretty coordinated. He's been in the army. He has martial arts training, firearms training. Give him a +2. He can react quickly in the kind of situations that reflexes would probably be rolled in. Senses. This is their senses. This can account for, this is kind of an average of all their senses, all 5 of their senses. They don't need to roll this when they walk into a room just to see stuff that's right in front of them. A lot of this is used like rolling when one character is trying to hide from another character. This is not like perception from D&D or anything like that. It is like, it's not rolled that often. How good are his senses? I'm wondering. He's attentive. He's a detective. He's paying attention to stuff. He probably is aware of his surroundings. If he's in a bad part of town, so +2, and might bring it down to a +1 if his stuff doesn't add up at the end. Stealth. As a man growing up in the 20s, 30s, and or 40s, he probably, as well as being in the Boy Scouts and the Army, he probably has a decent ability to move around quietly. He probably knows how to do that. So I'll give him a +2. Wealth skill. So this is the character's wealth and means, kind of like their social class and their income. Let's see, how's his income? Different iterations of him have worked for the FBI or been a private detective. It's the 40s. You can make it as a private detective. I'd go with like maybe +1, middle class, self-employed, financially independent. And this is used when the investigators have got to buy stuff. It's also used at a later step of character creation when you're rolling to determine like how much stuff they can start with in their inventory. That's it for his skills. So I'm gonna go ahead and add these up. Okay, I've added these up. It adds up to a total of +13, so I need to lower his skills in a few places to make it work. We will first drop this senses to a +1 and remove a 1. Drop his stealth to a +1 and remove a 1. We'll make his driving. If he doesn't need to know how to drive, he can not know how to drive, because I need to lower his skills. So make that a -3 and subtract 2. Maybe he could go down to a +1 in athletics. Not working out as much as he used to. We'll bring this to a +0. Business has not been as great lately. Maybe that's why he's got to be so committed to whatever job this next Eureka adventure I'm going to use him in is going to be, no matter how ridiculous it gets. Because if he doesn't solve this case, he's not paying rent. Paperwork, so you can take that down to 0. Seduce, take that down to -1. He's not been, sure, maybe he's on hard times. He's also not been taking as good care of himself and his appearance as usual. But all right, he's more honest too. So another -1 there. Drop close combat to a +1. That's still definitely within the realm of has had some martial arts training and martial arts experience, but he's not like a practitioner of a particular martial art. His reflexes. What about his reflexes? Same thing. He's no like Jackie Chan. The social cues cannot go lower than this. His visual calculus cannot go lower than this. His firearms cannot go lower than this. He definitely knows how to use a gun decently well. I realize I often end up making characters with pretty poor stats on this column. We'll drop a 1 point of threaten. Maybe we'll drop it down to a -1 in wealth. Lower middle class. Oh, that's lower class, which, fine. He's self-employed and business has not been good. And I am going to just double check my work again. Alright, so this is something that I forgot to account for, because these do add up to 0 over here. There's also write-in skills, which are skills like outside of the core 21 skills, which are things that like most people just don't have any like serious knowledge of. And I actually am going to give him a write-in skill, which is going to be lock-picking. He knows how to open a lock. You can also make up your own write-in skills if they're not like represented and would not be like reasonably just represented by all this stuff. But I'm not going to go into all the details on that in this video. So he's going to have a +1 in lockpicking, and because that would make him over the line for adding up to 0, I'm going to go with senses +0. The deal with write-in skills is that they can't be negative. They can't be 0 and they can't be negative. They always take up a point. And if a character is going to try to pick a lock and they don't have the lock-picking skill, they would use the next most relevant skill, which would probably be technology, but their technology roll would take a -3 penalty. Whereas if they were to actually use the lockpicking skill, they would just use whatever skill they have in lockpicking. Traits of the character, a lot of them involve just being personality traits that give them some kind of plus or minus. One of the key like design goals we had for Eureka was that like a character's personality would be their abilities, because we wanted to focus a lot on like who these characters are and have like depth of character. I don't have any problem with like, class-based systems, but that's not what Eureka's going for. Nor do I also don't think that class-based systems can't produce deep characters, but again, not what Eureka was going for. Every character has at least 3 traits. They can have up to 6 traits, but if they have more than 3 traits, they start requiring more investigation points to get 1 Eureka. I'm not going to fully explain what that is. This is a character creation video, but just know that it's good to get more Eureka points, and which means it's good to have a lower threshold for gaining Eureka points. So it's a real decision to make whether or not having a character with more than 3 traits is worth that extended investigation point bar that makes Eurekas accumulate slower. And so his traits. So I already have a good idea of what his traits are probably going to be. I've already described him as hard-boiled. He's going to stay on the case even if he gets injured, probably especially because he needs the money. So I'm going to give him the hard-boiled trait. That will give him a big contextual bonus to investigation rolls when he is hurt and injured. And I'm just going to copy-paste this into the bigger trait thing here so I can read it on the character sheet. Normally, though, I just have the rulebook open and go to traits, depending on whatever's faster for me to read or get to. I also think he's seen a lot of violence. He was in the war, and he probably has a decent tolerance for violence and death. So he's also going to have hardened hearts. I don't think he's going to lose his nerve easily, so hardy. And that will make him more resistant to some of the worst composure rolls, the worst composure hits that he may get. He's pretty stoic. Now let me just spend some time. This may be cut or fast forwarded through, but I'm just going to see if there's any other traits that I feel like he could or should have. I think I'm going to give him some extra traits. When you make a character for a Eureka adventure, you probably know a little bit about what the adventure is going to be, and you are expected to kind of tailor, even if it's an existing character. It is okay and not cheating. It's an intended part of the character creation process that you kind of tailor stuff tailor their stuff to what the adventure is going to be. For instance, if this character knows how to speak or read Latin, but you know that there's no chance that Latin's going to come up in this adventure, that might be a bad example. So, for instance, if a character knows how to speak Italian, and you know that this next adventure that you're going to put this character in will have nothing to do with the Italian language, it's not taking place in Italy, it's not taking place in a place that has a lot of Italian speakers, there's little to no chance that Italian is going to come up. You could, take Italian off their character sheet. They still, of course, they know how to speak Italian. And on the off chance that comes up, maybe work with your game master about it. But you could take Italian off their sheet and put those points into something else. They don't have to have all exactly the same traits. Of course, you shouldn't. They should still be the same person, but not everyone acts exactly the same in every situation. And especially if you know something's not going to come up, you don't have to put it on the sheet. Especially if it would be a hindrance and take a lot of their points out of something. I happen to know that the reason I am making this character sheet is that he's going to be in a shootout, one of the videos we're doing later is going to be a showcase of the combat, and this character will be in it. I'm going to give him the frugal trait. He knows how to manage his money. He's self-employed. He does his own taxes and stuff. And the frugal trait's very simple. It just is a bonus to wealth because they're a little bonus to wealth because they're frugal. And it'll also allow me to showcase another thing, which is like, so far I hadn't given him any traits that affect his stats, but frugal will. So go to his contextual bonus and give him a +1. And the reason this will help with the shootout is because it's going to help me get him a gun when we get to the inventory stage. Moving on. So, disabilities. Your investigator can have disabilities. These have no hard mechanical positive benefit. I don't think that Nick Morgan has any major disabilities, so I'm going to skip this. Tears of Fear. This is a cool part that will probably tell you a lot about the character. So, I mentioned composure earlier. Composure goes down when they have to make composure rolls, and they have to make composure rolls based on encountering situations that are on their Tears of Fear. You fill in this chart, and whatever situation it is a composure roll that is 2d6 plus or minus the relevant modifier based on how much it gets to them. And you can fill it in with a bunch of optional stuff or a bunch of stuff you write, but there are mandatory Tears of Fear you stick in these, you put in these. So, blood and gore. I've already mentioned that he is not terribly bothered by blood and gore, although he's not like immune to the idea. I'll probably put it, it wouldn't make him happy, so put it in +1. Corpse probably also wouldn't make him happy, but not like really freak him out. You know what? Put it here actually. Death. Disrespect. This is a more recent one. I mentioned that he's pretty stoic, so put that in the +2 category. Financial stress. Fist fighting. He is probably not fond of fist fighting. I'll put that in. Noxious guns, though. Guns definitely fucking scarier. Definitely scarier. Magic. I think that would freak him out quite a lot if something was like irreconcilably, definitely beyond understanding. And knives and stuff. Alright, maybe put guns here. And melee weapons there. And monsters, also pretty freaky for him. I don't think I'm probably not going to put anything in horrific for him because, like I said, he's stoic. Also, a lot of his traits are about being pretty stoic. He's not one to freak out too terribly about stuff. I just don't see that happening. Of course, he could still lose all his composure and freak out, but it'd wear him down. It'd have to wear him down. And police. Dealing with police is probably annoying. Do we have any additional fears? We could put chemical weapons. If he was in World War I. So the optional fears is like, these are things that they could encounter, and if a character does encounter these, then like you basically just put it on their Tears of Fear on the fly if you think it's like relevant and to the point that it would actually like cause a composure roll. But like there's stuff that's like not necessary to actually like put on in character creation. So we've got a couple example charts here. I won't go through through these. Truth. So truth is like an additional character element that when they do something, or it's something that a belief or an element of their personality that's not a trait and would like spur them to action or get them into trouble. And when they act on their truth, they start getting certain bonuses to rolls, which is here it's a bonus to their next 5 rolls. Let's see, what's his truth? You don't have to give a character a truth right away. You can play them a few sessions and then like figure out their truth as you play them. Ooh, should probably write in. Let's see. I'm gonna say his truth is like, let's see, won't jump to conclusions without evidence. And he could have multiple, I'll leave space because he can have multiple truths. Character can have several truths as long as they make sense. I have another character that's just a bunch of truths. Alright, step 7, inventory. This one's really cool. So there's 3 types of inventory: on-person inventory, secured inventory, like, you know, in a home or vehicle, and then unsecured, which is like sort of notes really. And you roll wealth points, which are kind of a meta currency that is spent to give them inventory stuff. And this, wealth points, even if you don't change anything about the character's stats or traits in between adventures that they are in, you have to re-roll their wealth points. You have to wipe their inventory clean and re-roll their wealth points. That doesn't necessarily mean that they lose everything in between, but wealth points represent what they have access to right now. And wealth points are 3d6 plus 6 plus wealth times 2. His wealth, because of the -1 here and the +1 here, is 0, so it's 0 times 2, so plus 0. So it's just going to be 3d6 plus 6. If I hadn't given him frugal, then he would have a -2 to his wealth points from having a -1 to wealth. So let me get out some d6s, which I am rolling. Okay, a 5, a 5, and a 4. So 14 plus 6 is 20. So we've got 20 wealth points to work with. I'll just write that here. I just like to write stuff like that down so it helps me keep track of it. Wealth points will not ever be relevant in actual gameplay. They are purely an element of character creation. You have to spend them all in character creation. They can't be used in gameplay. And of course he can have a wallet and some clothes, stuff like that, basically for free. So we're going with inventory, and even though I know I'm just using him for like, I'm going to be using him for like a shootout that will not involve a car or a house or anything like that, I'm still going to fill out the whole inventory. Like, even if I'm just using him for this like example scenario that doesn't have like a whole adventure attached to it, I'm still going to fill out his whole inventory for demonstrational purposes. So there's a list of items with wealth point costs, and these wealth point costs are based on 21st century America and not like 1930s, 40s, and 50s America, but we're going to later probably have like a proper conversion for that. But at the moment, while the game is still in beta, it is sort of use your head, or just do it the same, because wealth points are partially like, they don't necessarily represent real world in-game values anyway. There's an explanation, you can read in the rulebook. Firearms. Let's see, would he need a firearms license? Would he even need a firearms license? They didn't even start doing that stuff until relatively recently. Alright, so I'm back after doing some research. I don't think that he would have needed a firearms license to carry a firearm in that time. So we can skip firearms license. Semi-automatic pistol, he definitely has a semi-automatic pistol. Colt 1911 probably. And I don't need to write semi-automatic pistol, I know that's a semi-automatic pistol. That costs 3 wealth points. And that comes with 1 magazine. I think they tend to hold, in this time period, they tend to hold 7 rounds, I think. 7. Let's see, I'll give him at least 1 additional spare magazine. Also a 7. Probably not having a red dot sight in the 20s, 30s, or 40s. Oh yeah, almost forgot. The magazines come empty. Bullets have to be purchased separately. You know what? A repeating shotgun is probably something that he would have, like, in his car or something, either for actual hunting or in case he actually needs to actually fight and is expecting a fight. But would that be more likely a shotgun for him or a repeating rifle? You know, I think a repeating shotgun probably makes more sense. Put it in his vehicle. I'm just going to write repeating shotgun because I don't know. I can't think of a specific model off the top of my head that would be correct for him. I'm going to skip down to double check the capacity of the default repeating shotgun. It will require shells, but not an extra magazine. It does come with a full magazine, so it's included in the purchase through wealth points. Gadgets. He could have some binoculars. That sounds right. That's 2 wealth points. Flashlight. Alright, his home. I'm going to say he's got probably a small apartment. Lives in a city, self-employed. Needs a lockpick because he's got the lockpicking skill. Not going to bother with food budget. Not going to bother with other property. Even though he probably would have an office. But I'm going to say, I know that's never going to become relevant in this scenario. Probably definitely got a pocket knife. And also probably got a very basic first aid kit. And that is it. He doesn't have any grievous wounds, so they're not using this page. He hasn't done any failed investigation rolls for this adventure, so we don't need to fill this out yet. And we filled out all this stuff. And that's how you do character creation for a character in Eureka. If he was like a vampire or something, there'd be a few more steps. But he's not. And now he'll be ready to use in the scenario that we are going to play and record later on. And thank you for watching. Buy Eureka. Download it. It's free, but buy it because we need the money.